Hi everyone, it's Lori with Behavior Education at Spirit Keeper Animal Sanctuary. Welcome to my weekly video for Sunday, February 4th, 2024. This week I'm going to go over how to still do target training and manage tongs and a target if you are encountering physical challenges involving your hands or arms. Physical challenges could include you've had surgery on your hand or arm and it's in a cast, it's in some kind of a brace. You've got a physical injury to your hand or arm and you don't have full use of it. Maybe you have a prosthetic arm or hand, or maybe you are missing a limb completely. Maybe you're missing digits. How do you manage feeding your snake on tongs and presenting a target and asking them to move if maybe you only have one arm and maybe partial use of the other arm? So I have devised a couple of solutions that we're going to try out. One being that I have taped a target to basically a microphone, but any kind of platform would work. So if I have a client that is going to choose this method, I will refine this greatly. But let's say that I'm missing digits, that I have a prosthetic limb or hand, or that I've just had surgery and this is all in a cast and I can't use it. You could easily, hopefully, practice balancing this on your hand or arm, or if you only have a few digits, you could practice holding it with whatever digits you have. And I definitely recommend practicing this before you do it. Now, I'm not going to practice it before I do it. What you see is my practice. I'm going to go try this out and see how it works. And I'm already nervous ahead of time because my bare hand is going to be so close to the snake, and I never do that. I use very long target sticks and very long tongs so that my arm and my hand are never near the snake. And so I would say if I was going to use this method of targeting on a long-term basis, that I would wear something over my hand or over my limb to cover this so that any bare skin just wasn't available for the snake to accidentally bite. So let's go try this out and see how it works. And in this method, I'm going to presume that I'm going to be able to balance this on this hand and feed the feeder with my other hand, which hopefully is in good working order.
This is Triangula. She's one of my Brettles pythons. She was a little bit distracted because I was so worried about balancing that on my hand. And this time I've got it balanced on just a couple of fingers. I'm doing like the Vulcan salute, where I've got my little finger and my ring finger together and my index finger and my pointy finger together. And the target on the stand is just balancing on it. And then a couple of dogs walked by that she had to turn and look at. And then I forgot to hide the feeder behind my body like I usually do. And it was just sort of hanging at my left side. So I feel like that was super distracting for her, but she did really well. This is her sister, Laurel. And Laurel is looking at me like she's wondering what the heck is going on because my hand and arm are in her enclosure. And that never happens during a target training session or during feeding. But she definitely pretty much understands what's going on. She orients towards the target. She turns to the right when I move the target. And I'm doing quite a bit of moving the target with her because she seemed a little confused and she was sort of staring in the direction I didn't want her to. So I changed the position of the target to make sure that she was indeed orienting towards it. And then here, I just test that she will follow it when I move it because I wanted to make sure that this method would be effective. And I have my hand in a fist this time, and I have the target on the stand just balancing on my closed fist.
Okay, so admittedly that was a little awkward, but I just came up with this today. I just figured out this workaround, and I was literally trying it out for the first time with these few snakes that you saw me doing it with. I also think they were a little bit confused because they are not used to my hand being that close to them, my clothing, my arm, during a training session or during feeding. They are used to a long target stick, long tongs, and I'm very far away from them, so that I could tell when I was doing those sessions, they were a little bit confused about the change of equipment, but they figured it out and ultimately it went great. So my second solution, and this would be if you have no use of one arm or you're missing one arm and you're only going to be able to do the target training session with one arm. And I absolutely have to thank one of my patrons because he came up with this idea and I think it's brilliant, and I told him I was going to try it tonight. So I have glued one half of a pair of tongs onto the back of a target with hot glue. I have a hot glue gun, so on one side is the target facing the snake, just as it would be on a target stick, and on the other side is a workable pair of tongs. So I'm going to hold the feeder in the tongs. I'm going to show the snake the target, and then when they approach the target and I want to mark the end of the behavior, I usually flatten the target, let them know the behavior's done, and then feed them the feeder on a separate set of tongs. But if I only have one hand, I'm going to target them. When the behavior is finished, I'm going to flip this around and deliver the feeder to them on the tongs, theoretically. So let's go see how this works.
This is Saleya. She's one of my Brettles pythons. She has a habit of striking at the target anyway, so I am sure that having food on the other side of the target only encouraged her to strike at it more, but this is a great example of what to do when that happens. You pause the training session for a moment, you restart the training session, and then you wait for an opportunity to reinforce the animal when they are not striking at the target, and she did just fine. This is Merlin. He's my superstar inland carpet python who is able to do very complex behaviors. But I have something very simple set up for him today since I am trying something new. All I'm asking him to do is to come a little bit out of his enclosure and onto the step stool, because I'm trying out this method of having the feeder on the tongs glued to the target and having the snake follow the target and then delivering the reinforcement on the same target that he just followed out of the enclosure. So this was brand new for me, so I didn't want to ask him to do anything super complicated. And I screwed up delivery of the reinforcer there. That was my fault, not Merlin's. This is number one, and I'm asking her to move from one end of her enclosure to the other. And a behavior that I often have number one do, she's another Brettles python, is to loop herself up and over her perch and then come out the door. And she's very good at that. However, I can see that she's building some excitement here because I think that she can smell that prey, and she got really worked up. But again, I just pause through it and wait for her to not strike at the target, look at it and pause for a few seconds, and then I deliver the reinforcement. And that's exactly one of the methods that you can use to deal with a snake that's striking at the target. Just wait for them not to strike at it and then reinforce the absence of the strike. This is 005. He's one of my coastal carpet pythons. And again, I'm keeping these sessions simple for my sake because I'm learning how to do this. So I just asked him to target out his door and I delivered reinforcement. I'm basically practicing how to do this, how to target the snakes where I want them, and then at the end of the behavior, deliver the reinforcement smoothly so that we don't have any confusion. Ariam actually did excellent here. She did not strike at the target. She followed it right down, and I did a little bit better here, smoothly delivering reinforcement. This is our jaguar carpet python who has severe neurological disease, and he actually did really well. He does super well with target training, and it helps him when he eats.
Okay, so what did you think of that? After doing it a few times, I actually think that this method has more applications than the other method that I showed you, if you can get used to managing it this way. Showing the target, not getting panicked about there being food on the other side, trusting the snake to not go crazy and bite and wrap the target, which is a possibility. I will tell you, a lot of snakes struck at the target during these training sessions. I do not scent my training targets. So when I do target training, it's strictly a visual cue. I don't put any kind of scent on them. So obviously there's a feeder right behind the target this time, and I am sure that they smelled it. Snakes have excellent chemosensory reception, excellent sense of smell. No doubt they smelled the feeder behind the target, and that threw them off a little bit. But as you saw, every single one of them calmed down, oriented towards the target, paused as they always do during the training sessions, and then I flipped the target around and delivered the reinforcement. So I really thought that went pretty smoothly. I was able to use my right or my left hand. I didn't need my other arm, which meant if I was filming, I now have a way to film with one hand and deliver the target and do the training, or deliver the reinforcer and hold the target at the same time when I'm training. I could also see that this is a great way to initially start target training during the step 1 when you're just pairing the target with food, because you're not having to worry about managing a feeder on tongs and pairing that with the target in your other hand. So this would be a great way to do that step 1 of target training, where you're pairing the target with food. And then if you're still gonna have to use one hand for the rest of your time target training for whatever reason, whatever challenge you have, or if down the road you end up having an injury or surgery or something go on with your hand or arm and you have to shift to one-handed targeting, you and the snake will just have to get used to the fact that they're going to have to follow the target to where you want them to. They're still going to have to interact with the target without striking at it, despite the fact that it smells like prey. And then when the target changes orientation, the prey appears and they take it. So I thought both of these things worked well. I would have to definitely practice the first method more. This was pretty easy. So let me know in the comments what you think about it, and if you can think of other challenges that you would like me to problem solve. I enjoy doing this stuff. So until next time, everybody, please remember to always be kind and love your animals.